then, immediately after that, it says, وَإِنْ أَرَدْتُمْ إِسْتِبْدَالَ زَوْجٍ مَكَانَ زَوْجٍ. If you want to remove or replace one spouse with another spouse, وَأَتَيْتُمْ إِحْدَاهُنَّ قِنْطَارًا, and you gave one of them a large sum of money, فَلَا تَأْخُذُوا مِنْهُ شَيْئًا. If you wish to divorce a woman in order to wed another, and you had given her a whole treasure as dowry, take not the least part of it back. Would you take it by way of calumny and open wrong? Don't think if you gave somebody this dowry, because that's what the Arabs would do before that this is her property. And then Allah says after that, وَكَيْفَ تَأْخُذُونَهُ وَقَدْ أَفْضَى بَعْضُكُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ. The thing about the Arabic really is perfect, because how can you take that back when one of you has gone into the other? It just doesn't work in English. One of you has gone into the other. Because what it's saying here is أَفْضَى بَعْضُكُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ. That's what it says. It doesn't say one of you, because it just doesn't, it's so perfect in Arabic, because it's leaving that open, the ambiguity of it. It's not about male and female. It's about one of you being with the other. It's about these two human beings coming together in this. And part of that process is the male gives the female this money as a way of giving her some independence when she comes into the relationship. There's a lot of wisdoms in that. But the point is that how can you take that back? You entered into this marriage giving that to her, and now you want it back because you want to get out of the marriage? And then, وَأَخَذْنَا مِنْكُمْ مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا. They have taken a heavy covenant from you. In other words, when the woman went into this relationship in a compromised situation, because a woman goes into the relationship in a compromised situation generally, with rare exception, the point is that she has a covenant that you're going to treat her the way God commanded you to treat her. That's the covenant that she took. And what a mithaq! This is your contract. You went into this thing saying, I'm going to do what Allah tells me to do with you. Don't you realize the awesomeness of that contract? What are you going to say on Yawm al-Qiyamah? Because that's what she went in believing. When you did that aqd and you said, ala kitabillahi wa sunnati rasulillah. Isn't that what you said when you got married? That's what you said. That's what the man says. You think that's a light thing? That's mithaq ghalil. That is a heavy, ghilva. It's a heavy covenant. It's harsh if you break it. And I know so many situations where the Quran calls it mu'allaqa. Seriously, I have been in so many situations where the husband's married, he's somewhere else, he won't grant her a divorce because he doesn't want her to get remarried. It's just all spite. It's all diseases in the heart. Or they won't give him the dowry, the mu'akhar. Last week, somebody asked me about this. I'm going through his divorce, and I had a mu'akhar of a large sum of money. And that's what it says, qintaran. This is the thing. Ma farratna fil kitab min shay. We didn't leave anything out of this book. Allah didn't say dowry, right? It could have said dowry. Why did he say qintar? Because it's a lot of money. And then when Omar was up on the minbar and he said, Ya ayyuhan nas, la tughalu fi muhuri nisaikum. Don't give extravagant dowries to these women. Right? That's what Sayyidina Umar, he's Amir al-Mu'mineen. قامت امرأة وقالت يا ابن الخطاب أتمنع ما أعطانا الله. And she didn't say Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. She said Ya ibn al-Khattab. I knew you and I knew your father. And are you going to deny us what Allah has given us? And then she read the ayah. And then Umar, when he heard it, he said, كل الناس أفقه من عمر. All of you know more fiqh than Umar. All of you are more educated than Umar. There's a woman standing up. He's on the minbar. And he made a mistake in the book of Allah. And she said, قامت امرأة, because it's her haqq. And again, that shows you that thing of, if you don't stand up for your right, nobody else is going to do it. Right? It's that thing again of, she's the one, look, this is our haqq. This is our right. Because the man, it's to his benefit. Oh, great. Omar's saying, lower the the dowries, right? This is the homo economicus, right? Economical man. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you've given them this treasure, don't take it back. أَتَأْخُذُونَهُ بُهْتَانًا وَإِثْمًا مُبِينًا. Do you take it back by way of calumny and open wrong? Ithm mubin, it's a clear wrong. You've oppressed somebody. The rights of the wife. The wife is entitled to certain rights in marriage, and they're basically as follows. The two primary rights that are mentioned is a dower and maintenance, nafaqa. So the dower is mahar, and there's a khilaf about it, and there are hadiths about the best women have the lowest mahar, which is also an encouragement in marrying poor, because people will often try to get into marriages for economic reasons and things like that, and it's usually not a good reason to go into a marriage. So the idea of if somebody's only asking a little bit, it enables poor men to marry women easier, because if everybody wants high dowry, then it becomes a big problem. Imam Malik radhiyallahu anhu is rubu' dinar, which is not very much. It's less than $20 basically, and in the other ones it can be even less than that. So the maintenance is being fed, clothed, housed, and having domestic help and necessary appliances to maintain the house. And it says ashiruhunna bil ma'ruf, so it would be what's known in a culture. If you're living in Mali, ma'ruf is different from living in Santa Clara. I mean, literally, you have to take in the urf of the place you're living. So the maintenance of a woman, you can't deprive a woman of the things that the society she's living in, people at her socioeconomic status are accustomed to. So if you're living in a society where women have washing machine, these type things, and that's the custom of the people, then she should be afforded those type of things. I mean, that's the idea there. And obviously, I mean, الرجال قوامون على النساء, men are the maintainers of women, that it's an obligation to maintain women for a number of reasons. Now, conditions that make binding upon the man, maintenance binding upon a man. If a woman has not actually consummated the marriage, so you had the aqd, but the woman didn't consummate the marriage, in other words, there wasn't sexual relations, obviously lawful sexual relations, then the man does not have to pay nafaqah. It's still on her father or her uncle or her brother, whoever the agnate relative that's responsible for her to do. And the reason for that, obviously, is istimta' is part of the haqq, the maintenance that comes out of him also getting his rights, and that's a right. And also, somebody who was married as a minor. And I wanted to mention also about that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَعْضُرُهُنَّ, there's different verses, meanings to that. And one of the meanings is don't force her to marry who she does not want to marry, which is an opinion of some of the imams, and that's what Shaykh Abdullah bin Bayyah said should be the amal in the West, in America. He said, even though there are some imams that give the right of the father to be mujbir, that is not something that should be practiced here. That should be seen as more of an urf thing in other places, but it would be inappropriate here. And that's nadaran lil ma'alat. It's looking at the consequences of actions. So, and that is a valid opinion. And I told you the hadith of the woman who went to the Prophet ﷺ and said, my father wants me to marry this man just to elevate the man's status a little bit. He's from the family, but from a lower. And he's making me do this. Do I have to do it? And he said, no, you don't. And then she said, well, I've already decided I'll do it, but I just wanted to show women that he couldn't force me to do anything. And that's a sound hadith. So there was a woman who wanted to show other women she was going to do what her father asked her to do, but she just wanted to show other women, you don't have to do this just because I'm doing it. This should be a choice. So that's there. But if she was underage, and I mean, if people say that, you have to understand it goes both ways, that the parents can marry a minor male as well. So it's not just the woman, it goes both ways. I mean, that's something that's very alien to this culture now. It didn't used to be. I mean, child brides were very common, even in America in the 19th century. You can read the literature about child brides and things like that. So things have changed, and that has to do with urf. والعرف محكم, عرf is something which is the custom of people, is taken into consideration. So the urf is taken into consideration there. So here, there would be things totally inappropriate. In Mauritania, for instance, a woman is generally an adult by the time she's 12 or 13, which is the way it used to be in most of the world. I mean, William Durant, and his wife's name was Ariel Durant. He married her. He was already an adult. He married her when she was 13. And she was his lifelong companion and helped him write those history books. So he wasn't a pedophile or a child abuser. It was an accepted norm at the time that he got married. Well, now it's seen as something unacceptable. So that's the urf of a people. But generally, that was not the case in the vast majority of the world, including here in the United States. And that's part of the problem with how moderns see themselves. They always assume that the way they do things is just better than everybody else. And this must be the best thing because we're doing it. Well, maybe it's not the best thing. Ariel Durant probably had a very rich and fruitful life. And if you asked her about it, would have she changed it, to have done this or that? It'd be interesting to hear. I can't answer for her, but...